Okay. So it's recording in progress. How you like that, Jacques?
Yeah, it's working.
I don't know where the file is gonna go. I guess maybe to the. I guess it'll go to the cloud. Okay.
Yeah. Okay, I'm gonna mute.
All right. Go ahead. All right. So yeah, I can see it's recording on the cloud. Welcome back, everybody. After a little extended layoff, trying to figure life out. And we also had a little bit of drama in the WhatsApp group with our new friend Justin, aka Simcha, who came in to see what we're up to. And I think Justin quickly saw that he had to go. So we lost Justin. Anyhow, we've been trying to have a class for a while. It's been a big transition on my side with my work growing and growing and growing and my time shrinking and shrinking and shrinking. But I will tell you, personally, the work paid off as the company experienced the greatest month of sales ever. Well, it ended up being good. All right. Well, the last couple of times that we tried to have class, it was supposed to be a Ger Toshav class. And the reason why, if you remember, I had a premise that in the infamous "Is there a Ger Toshav today?" discussion, which obviously I believe and believed that there is, in fact, a Ger Toshav on some level today. After taking time off from Ger world for X amount of years and thinking about it with a clean head, and from what I understand about life itself, you, Jacques, as you understand, you need to align yourself in anything in this world with the Inyan. There's nothing to me more frustrating than witnessing people perverting the Inyan in the world. Number one, it's stupid. Number two, it's wrong. Number three, it opens up a lot of issues, negative mostly. It's counterintuitive, and it goes against the truth. Can one of you unmute and give me an example of what it means to do something in regular everyday life that is not the Inyan? Go ahead. Somebody want to tell me what that is, because it's not as ethereal as you would think. Anyone? Going once, going twice. You would need to unmute your microphone.
Having a meal at McDonald's.
That's one. McDonald's is not food. McDonald's is sugar, oil, and salt wrapped up in fake meat, fake bread, fake everything, nutrient devoid or food absent of nutrients, even the lettuce, onion, tomato, right? That is not food. It is, pardon the cliche, but junk food. And I don't mean to speak in cliche. I'm speaking quite literally. Another example, Jacques, is I got into a discussion with a guy at work. His last name is Baghdadi. We call him Big Daddy. And he's a nice guy, big guy, skinny in his arms and legs with a stomach. And he asked me, what's the problem? What can he eat? According to him, he goes to and here, Jacob, I'm going to challenge you guys again. He goes to restaurants and he cannot understand why he's gaining weight. According to him, he gets vegetables, rice, and a form of protein. Jacques or anybody else, what is the problem? Why is Big Daddy gaining weight?
Because the restaurants don't serve food. They serve sugar and salt and MSG and whatever.
Yeah. I told him, I said, you are confused. You assume that the restaurant is interested in solving your appetite. And I'm not talking about on a conspiracy level, but on a very simple, shot, Indian level. Is the restaurant's prime agenda to make money or make sure that you're healthy? Again, I'm not talking about like follow the money stuff. I'm talking pure business. Is it not important and is it not the Indian that you enjoy your food? Yeah, when you go to a restaurant, the most important element is that you enjoy it. I don't care how healthy you are. If you're not enjoying it, you won't go back. On a very, very simple level, the Indian is to bring you back. So you think the Indian is food. The Indian is actually customer retention. And the Indian of the food itself is flavor. And in order to make that rice flavorful, you will put in salt and oil and other additives, which is at least another couple hundred calories. And then the same in the vegetables and the same in the meat. So now what should have been maybe 700 calories was probably 1,500. You doubled it. What I particularly don't like about Indian, as a quasi-athlete that I am, at least I used to be, is like when you go to the gym and it's in the gym, you're lifting weights, you're exercising, they call it in Hebrew, imun koach, strength training. You'll see a guy wearing Nike Alpha Flies. Do you guys know what those are? Nike Alpha Flies? Anyone? Jack? Ado, you run. You guys know what Nike Alpha Flies are? You can unmute. It's not illegal. So I'll tell you. Nike Alpha Flies are marathon runners. And they have a stack height of about, I don't know, maybe an inch. So it is absolutely counterproductive, counterintuitive, and dangerous to lift heavy weights, particularly when you do squats, deadlifts, and lunges with your legs, wearing an unstable shoe. That one false movement or shaking with the heavy load of weight, you will probably blow out your ankles. So this guy thought the Indian was sport shoes. And he thought the Indian was spending a lot of money to look cool on sport shoes. It's no different, I mean, seriously, than wearing high heels in the gym. So number one, it's dangerous. Number two, you look at you in terms of truth, you look like an idiot. It would be like opening a moving company with a Tesla. I don't think anybody is opening a moving company with a Tesla. So getting the Indian wrong is very problematic, to put it mildly, on every level. In it, we see it in the real world. You really need to understand the real world, and according to the Inyan, to how do you say? I guess to participate in the real world the way that it was intended. And the less that you are aligned with the way the world was intended, you're opening yourself up for damage, and other side effects of not going with the Inyan. And there's a great level of success when you are aligned with the Inyan. As much as wearing the wrong running shoe can go as far as injuring your body and your feet, wearing the correct running shoe, or a walking shoe, or work shoe, can aid you in your efforts. Dixie, I think if I remember correctly, you're interested in horses, right? I think that you can probably imagine, if you get your tools wrong, whatever those tools are, whatever shoes you wear, boots you wear, whatever it is you do, you probably don't want to get the Inyan wrong in your line of work. Am I right, Dixie?
No, because you'll get hurt, possibly killed.
Exactly. The Inyan is quite serious. So when we're talking about Ger Toshav, and by the way, I think there's a good chance there's going to be a war over here. The fighter jets have been flying over my house all day, and I know that the new defense minister went up on the Temple Mount, and they're not happy about it. So watch the news. There's jets flying all day. It's a little
Well, we
annoying.
know it's coming.
Yeah, I mean, last time someone did that was, I think, 2001 or 2000, Ariel Sharon, and that kicked off the Intifada. So I hope that's not what this is, but that's how it started the last time. So it's nice to say that Ger Toshav is whatever you want it to be. It's a superior Gentile. It's a this. It's a that. A better Noahide, not a Noahide. This. We spent the good part of over 10 years describing Ger Toshav. I would say there were times we hit it close and on the head, and there were times where we missed it. Or if you don't want to say missed it, I think you could say exaggerate or carry it too far. And I don't mean that in a condescending way. It's just that sometimes Ger Toshav, even though we might have a source, you can misappropriate the source to try to express an Inyan that's not there. I don't know offhand an example, but again, there are so many Ger sources. Some of them are just better than others. When I put together the book, Laws of Ger Toshav, we tried to mainstream the sources into a coherent thread. But in my current line of work, sourcing is imperative. I wouldn't have had my success at my work if I didn't source. And I learned how to source by being a rabbi. And what I like about my work is that I work for the company itself. So the company gives me the secrets of the source, which I always say it's like it would be as if the Rambam was my best friend or cousin, and when the Ger Toshav stuff comes up, I could just call my good friend the Rambam and say, "Hey, good best friend Rambam, what does it mean, Ger Toshav, in your book?" And my best friend the Rambam will tell me. Imagine if that was true. Imagine if the Rambam, was alive and he was my best friend, and I could just call him and say, "Hey, the Ger people are curious what you meant, blah blah blah. We need an answer." And he writes back, "Hey, Devo, good buddy, this is what I meant in Sefer Malachim 8:10." So with InBody, I get from the company exactly what they meant. So I'm never wrong. I cannot possibly be wrong. And when I meet opposition in the field, they are arguing with me, and I already, you realize how confident I am when I go out. It's insane. Because I know exactly what I'm saying. I will bet you any money you want on any level, you name it, I will never lose. And the person arguing will lose 10 times out of 10 because they don't work for the company. And it's not subjective. The company's telling me absolutely objective information. So if Torah was like that, and religion, even if religion was true, which it isn't, but if it was and like that, it would be amazing. Imagine if theology was that true. It would be a very powerful thing. And I think the Torah is meant to be that true. Religion takes it out of there. So when we're speaking of all things Ger Toshav, in terms of Ger Toshav today, I think there's one place where the inyan is absolutely 100% true. I think the Nevela is close, but, and I don't know if I know why, but the rabbis are still hesitant to give the Nevela to a Ger Toshav, by name Ger Toshav. I think the unwritten rule is you're giving it to a Ger Toshav, but they don't particularly like to call it that. And why that is a different discussion. So the question becomes, where do we find one place in the entire religion of Torah? Remember, we're not talking about Torah itself. Torah itself, we have an endless amount of sources. The religious interpretation of Torah, which is probably wrong, but can include elements that are correct. As Jacques, you always say, the religion can be elevated. It has an elevated understanding. It's just that the descriptive term religion is fundamentally wrong. Once it becomes descriptive religion, it is wrong, because it's by definition dumbed down, mainstream, streamlined, vulgar. It's just not, it's not meant to be the Torah itself, or the religious, the true religion of Torah itself, if there is such a thing. Meaning, if the Rambam is true religion, then there's a truth to the Rambam. But religion as we know it will bastardize the Rambam every time. So the question again becomes, where do we find Ger Toshav in Torah, in true religion, in current religion, which is low, but in an elevated state. Like the true element of Ger Toshav in the worst part of religion. Meaning it's where it's universally true. And a friend of mine in Pittsburgh is a posek, Rabbi Silver. I met him on my journeys in America. And he writes a very nice halachic piece every week. I wrote to him after I realized that I thought that Ger Toshav was about wine. The goy that can touch Jewish wine would be a Ger Toshav. I think I posted it in the group. You can look in the group and find the document. And he writes the following. In addition, concerning wine, in addition, the Talmud debates the status of touching the wine by a Ger Toshav. This is a Gentile who has accepted upon himself to observe the 7 mitzvahs b'nei Noach. The poskim follow the opinion that it is permitted to benefit from, and some even rule leniently on drinking. Some poskim point out that to permit benefit, the Gentiles' undertaking to refrain from idol worship and nothing more is sufficient. This does not apply to their wine. The decree to prevent weddings still applies. In fact, it would seem to be even more important at this point. Nonetheless, Maga'an seems to be taken less seriously than Yanaim. The Talmud discusses a regular ger who has not yet undergone mikveh. To become a ger toshav, one needs to go before a beit din and undertake this status. In addition, many poskim maintain that it can only apply in Eretz Yisrael. However, for the purposes of yayin nesach, goyish wine, and stam yayin, the general wine, the poskim agree that we consider any Noahide Gentile a ger toshav. Thus, their status is even better for these purposes than that of a Jewish brazen, intentional desecrator of Shabbos, whose maga forbids the wine. Notice how Rabbi Silver did not say there is an opinion, or there's one person that says, or he said the poskim agree that we consider a Noahide Gentile a ger toshav in purposes of wine. And there you have it. From my perspective, at this point, we have a clear, proven source in matters of Jewish wine, and a Gentile that on a minimal level rejects idolatry without even getting into shituf and everything else, is elevated into ger toshav. And obviously, once we establish that, then you can get into rejecting shituf, having Kabbalah, and all the other things. The only question is there a tipping point where ger toshav is in the lowest level of religion possible? Because elevation is not hard to do. Reject shituf, do Kabbalah, believe in God, live Mazel Torah, spirituality, everything. But the opposition is trying to say, in their religion, there is no ger toshav, so therefore you cannot exist on any level. And from here, we see where the rubber meets the road. In the lowest level of religion, there is, in fact, a ger toshav. That's it for today. Before we sign off, thoughts, comments, or feedback? Go ahead and unmute. It's freezing out here, so the quicker we end this, it'll help me. But as always, give your feedback. Go ahead.
Very interesting. Thank you. Go get
You're welcome.
warm.
Thanks. Anybody else? Anybody? All right, if that's it, we're going to sign off until next week. But we have succeeded in reestablishing class, Zoom, tablets, vendors, everything. So I think this new system will work. All right, anything else before we sign off? If not, sayonara, and we'll see you next week.
Shabbat Tov.
All right, Shabbat Shalom, everybody. Let's go ahead and sign off.